Chapter 33. At the Columbus Theater. Ippolit Matveyevich was slowly turning into a sycophant. Whenever he looked at Ostap, his eyes took on a pale, almost police-like blue. It was so hot in Ivan Ippolit's room that the dried-out chairs from Vorobyaninov's collection crackled like firewood in a fireplace. The great schemer was resting, his head propped up on a blue vest. Ippolit Matveyevich gazed out the window. Outside, down the crooked Moscow alleys and past tiny gardens, a fancy carriage sped by. Its black lacquered sides reflected bowing pedestrians, a cavalryman with a copper helmet, city ladies in fluffy white clouds. The horses clattered past, shaking the cobblestones, and Ippolit Matveyevich turned away, disappointed. Carriage, it turned out, bore the city sanitation department's crest and was meant for hauling garbage. Its wooden sides reflected nothing. On the driver's seat sat a dashing old man with a bushy white beard. If Ippolit Matveyevich had known that the coachman was none other than Count Alexei Bulanov, the famous Hazartern monk, he probably would have called out to reminisce about the good old days. But he didn't know, and the coachman, for his part, was too preoccupied to chat about the past. Count Bulanov was lost in thought, brooding over the bureaucracy that plagued the sanitation department and had kept him from getting his special issue apron for 6 months. Suddenly, the great schemer spoke up. "Hey, what did they call you as a kid?" "Why do you ask?" "I don't know, I'm just tired of calling you Vorobyaninov, and Ippolit Matveyevich sounds too stiff. What was your nickname, IPA?" Kisa, Ippolit Matveyevich replied with a smirk. "Brilliant. Well, Kisa, could you take a look at my back? It hurts between the shoulder blades." Ostap pulled his cowboy shirt over his head. Before Kisa stood the broad back of a small-town Adonis, charmingly shaped, but a bit dirty. "Whoa," said Ippolit Matveyevich, "that's some redness." Between Ostap's shoulder blades, bruises shimmered in an oily rainbow, forming odd shapes. "Honestly, it looks like the number 8, exclaimed Vorobyaninov. "Never seen a bruise like that." "Any other numbers?" Ostap asked calmly. "Maybe the letter R." "No further questions, it's all clear now. Damn pen, see Kisa, what I suffer, the dangers I face because of your chairs. These marks were made by a big self-falling pen, nib number 86. The cursed thing landed on my back the very moment I reached into the editor's chair." "I suffered too," Kisa blurted out. When you were chasing after someone else's wife. If I recall, that little adventure didn't end well for you. Or was it during your duel with the offended Kalia?" "No, excuse me, I got hurt at work." "Oh, you mean when we made our strategic retreat from the Columbus Theater?" Yes, when the guard was chasing us." "So you call falling off a fence heroic?" "I banged my kneecap on the pavements." "Don't worry, with all the construction these days, they'll fix it soon enough." Ippolit Matveyevich quickly rolled up his left pant leg and stopped, puzzled. There was nothing wrong with his yellow knee. "Lying at your age, shameful," Ostap said with a sigh. "I'll have to give you a C for behavior and call your parents. You really can't do anything right. Why did we have to run from the theater? Because of you. Who told you to stand on the zinc roof like a sentry, drawing everyone's attention? And who made such a mess of the Izhnyurenkov chair that I had to clean up after you? And don't get me started on the auction. You picked the worst time for your little escapade. At your age, chasing skirts is just bad for your health. Take care of yourself. Now look at me. 1 widow's chair, 2 from S.A. Chukins, and I handled the Izhnyurenkov chair myself. I went to the editor, to Lyapis. And you only managed to finish 1 chair, and even then only with help from our sworn enemy, the Archbishop." Ippolit Matveyevich sheepishly pulled his pant leg back down. The great schemer started laying out their next moves. Barefoot, the technical director, paced the room, instructing the obedient Kisa. The chair that had vanished in the freight yard at the October station was still a dark spot on their otherwise shining plan, but the 4 chairs at the Columbus Theater were a sure thing. The only problem, the theater was about to leave on a tour down the Volga, with the steamboat Scriabin, and tonight's performance of The Marriage was the last of the season. They had to decide, stay in Moscow to search for the missing chair, or go on tour with the troupe. Ostap leaned toward the latter. "Or maybe we should split up," Ostap suggested. "I'll go with the theater, and you stay here and keep an eye on the freight yard." But Kisa blinked his gray lashes so nervously that Ostap dropped the idea. "You're hunting 2 rabbits," he said. "You pick the fatter one. We'll go together, but it'll be expensive. We'll need money. I've got 60 rubles left. How about you? Oh, I forgot. At your age, love affairs are costly. Here's the plan. Tonight we go to the premiere of The Marriage. Don't forget your tux. If the chairs are still there and haven't been sold off to pay the theater's debts, we leave tomorrow. Remember, Vorobyaninov, we're entering the final act of my mother-in-law's treasure." "The end is near, Vorobyaninov. Don't breathe, my old friend. Eyes on the stage. Oh, my youth, the smell of backstage. So many memories, so many intrigues. So much talent I once showed as Hamlet." In short, the meeting continues. Save money, they walked to the theater. It was still light out, but the street lights already glowed lemon yellow. Spring was dying before everyone's eyes. Dust chased it from the squares, and a hot breeze pushed it into the alleys, where old ladies coddled the fading beauty and drank tea with her at round tables in the courtyards. But spring's time was up. She wasn't allowed out in public anymore. Yet she longed to reach Pushkin's statue, where the evening's flirting had already begun, where young men in flashy caps, skinny pants, dog's delight ties, and Jimmy shoes strutted about. Girls dusted in lavender powder drifted between the MSBA building and the Communar Co-op, between the old Filipov and Alisiv stores. The girls cursed loudly and clearly. At this hour, passers-by slowed down because Tverskaya Street was packed. Moscow's horses were no better than those in Stargorod. They too deliberately clopped their hooves on the cobblestones. Cyclists zipped by silently from the Tomsky Stadium, fresh from the first big intercity match. An ice cream vendor pushed his green cart, eyeing the policeman nervously, but the cop, busy with his glowing traffic baton, was no threat. Amid all this chaos, the two friends made their way. Temptations lurked at every step. In tiny eateries, wild mountaineers grilled shashlik, lamb, beef, and filet right on the street. The hot, sharp smoke rose to the pale sky. From bars, restaurants, and the great silent cinema, string music drifted out. At the tram stop, a loudspeaker blared. Young landowner and poet Lenski is in love with Olga Larina, the landowner's daughter. Eugene Wunjin, to spite his friend, pretends to court Olga. Please enjoy the overture. Here's the auditorium. Loudspeaker quickly finished tuning the orchestra, tapped the conductor's baton, and poured the first notes of the overture into the crowd waiting for the tram. With a groan, tram number 6 arrived. The curtain had already risen, and old Mrs. Larina, humming "Habit is Given to Us from Above," was stirring her jam while the tram still couldn't break free from the mob. It finally left, roaring and weeping, to the strains of the duet "Have You Heard?" It was getting late, they had to hurry. The friends entered the echoing lobby of the Columbus Theater. Vorobyaninov rushed to the box office and read the ticket prices. "Still," he said, "it's expensive. 16th row, 3 rubles. "I can't stand these petty bourgeois, these provincial simpletons," Ostap remarked. "What are you doing? Don't you see this is the box office?" "Well, where else? They won't let us in without tickets." "He say you're such a rube. Every decent theater has 2 windows. The box office is for lovers and rich heirs. The rest of us, most people, as you can see, go straight to the administrator's window." Sure enough, only 5 modestly dressed people stood at the box office, maybe rich heirs, maybe lovers, but the administrator's window was buzzing. There, a colorful line had formed. Young men in stylish jackets and pants, outfits a provincial could only dream of, waved notes from directors, actors, editors, the theater's costume designer, the local police chief, and other well-connected folks, members of the Theater and Film Critics Association, the Tears of Poor Mothers Society, the School Council for the Circus Experiment Workshop, and something called FORTNBRAS at UMSLOPOJS. About 8 people had notes from Asper Klarovich. Ostap dove into the line, elbowed past the Fortinbras crowd, and shouted, "Just need some info. You see, I haven't even taken off my galoshes." He squeezed up to the window and peeked inside. The administrator worked like a stevedore. Beads of sweat sparkled on his greasy face. The phone rang constantly, as persistent as a tramcar pushing through the Smolensky market. "Yes," he shouted. Yes, at 8:30. He slammed down the receiver, only to grab it again. "Yes, Columbus Theater. Oh, it's you, Sejdilia Markovna. Yes, of course, orchestra seats. And Buka S not coming. Why, the flu, really? Well, all right. Yes, goodbye, Sejdilia Markovna." "Columbus Theater, no passes tonight. What can I do? The city council banned it." "Columbus Theater, what? Mikhail Grigorievich. Tell him there's a seat for him in the 3rd row aisle." Next to Ostap, a man with a round face and twitching eyebrows was getting agitated. "What do I care?" the administrator told him. Kuntov, a man very much of his time, pleaded for a complimentary ticket. "No way," said the administrator. "You understand, the city council." "Yes," Kuntov mumbled, but the Moscow branch of the Leningrad Society of Dramatic Writers and Opera Composers cleared it with Pavel Fyodorovich. "Can't do it next." "But Yakov Menelevich, I'm with the Moscow branch of the Leningrad Society of Dramatic Writers and Opera Composers." "What do you want me to do?" "No, I can't. What do you want, comrade?" Sensing the administrator was wavering, Kuntov tried again. "Please, Yakov Menelevich, the Moscow branch of the Leningrad Society of Dramatic Writers and Opera Composers." That was the last straw. The administrator snapped pencils, grabbed the phone, and finally found Kuntov a seat right under the chandelier. "Hurry up," he barked at Ostap. "Your notes." 2 seats, Ostap said quietly, in the orchestra. "For whom?" "For me." "And who are you, that I should give you seats?" "I think you know me." "I don't recognize you." But Ostap's gaze was so clear, so direct, that the administrator's hand moved on its own and gave him 2 seats in the 11th row. "All sorts come through here," the administrator muttered to the next UMSLOPOJS member. "Who knows who they are? Maybe he's from the education ministry. I think I've seen him there. Where have I seen him?" As he handed out passes to happy theater and film critics, Yakov Menelevich kept trying to remember where he'd seen those clear eyes before. When all the passes were gone and the lobby lights dimmed, he finally remembered. Those clear eyes, that confident look. He'd seen them in Taganka prison in 1922, when he himself was locked up for some trivial matter. Columbus Theater was in a mansion, so the auditorium was small, the lobby disproportionately huge, and the smoking room crammed under the stairs. The ceiling was painted with a mythological hunting scene. The theater was young and so daring it had lost its subsidy. It was only in its second year, surviving mainly on summer tour. From the 11th row where the treasure hunters sat, laughter erupted. Ostap enjoyed the musical intro, played by the orchestra on bottles, S-mark mugs, saxophones, and big regimental drums. A flute whistled and the curtain parted, bringing a welcome breeze. Vorobyaninov's surprise. He was used to classic productions of The Marriage. Podkolzin wasn't on stage. Scanning the scene, Ippolit Matveyevich saw plywood rectangles hanging from the ceiling, painted in the colors of the rainbow. No doors, no blue muslin windows. Under the colored shapes, ladies in huge black cardboard hats danced. The bottle music summoned Podkolzin, who rode into the crowd of ladies on Stepan's back. Podkolzin wore a chamberlain's uniform. Shooing the ladies away with lines not in the script, he shouted, "Stepan!" At the same time, he leapt aside and froze in a dramatic pose. The S-mark mugs rattled. "Stepan!" Podkolzin called again, jumping. But Stepan, standing nearby in a leopard skin, didn't answer. Podkolzin asked tragically, "Why are you silent like the League of Nations?" "I'm just scared of Chamberlain," Stepan replied, scratching his leopard skin. It was clear Stepan would soon upstage Podkolzin as the main character in this modernized play. "So is the tailor making the frock coat." Jump bang on the S-mark mugs. Stepan did a handstand and still upside down answered, "He's making it." The orchestra played a medley from Madame Butterfly. Stepan stayed on his hands the whole time, his face turning red. "So," Podkolzin asked, "did the tailor ask what the fine cloth was for?" Stepan, now sitting in the orchestra pit hugging the conductor, replied, "No, he didn't ask. Is he a member of the British Parliament?" "And did the tailor ask if the master wanted to get married?" "The tailor asked if the master wanted to pay alimony." The lights went out and the audience stomped their feet. They kept stomping until Podkolzin's voice came from the stage. "Citizens, don't worry. The lights are out on purpose, part of the show. It's all about the set design." The audience calmed down. The lights stayed off for the rest of the act. In total darkness, drums thundered. A squad of soldiers in hotel bellhop uniforms marched by with lanterns. Then, apparently on a camel, Kochkriov arrived. You could tell from the dialogue. "Hugh, you scared me, and you came on a camel." "Oh, you noticed even in the dark. I wanted to surprise you with a sweet treat, verbluto." During intermission, the treasure hunters read the playbill. The Marriage. Text by N.V. Gogol. Lyrics by M. Shir-Shalafimov. Literary montage by I. Antiochian. Music by K.H. Ivanov. Director Nick Sestrin. Set design Simbivich Sindivich. Lighting Platin Plashchuk. Sound Galkin Palkin Malkin Chalkin and Zelkind. Makeup KRULT Workshop. Wigs Foma Kachura. Furniture Fortinbras Woodworks at UMSLOPOGS, named after Valtaspra. Acrobatics instructor Georgette Turaspolskik. Hydraulic press operated by Mechnikov. Playbill printed at the KRULT FZU school. "Do you like it?" Ippolit Matveyevich asked timidly. "And you?" Ippolit Matveyevich hesitated. "It's interesting, but Stepan is kind of odd." "I didn't like it," Ostap said, "especially the furniture. What if they've repurposed our chairs?" His fears were unfounded. At the start of the second act, all 4 chairs were carried on stage by men in top hats. Matchmaking scene was the audience's favorite. When Agafia Tikhonovna started walking a tightrope stretched across the auditorium, the orchestra made such a racket that she should have fallen into the crowd from the noise alone. But Agafia held her own. She wore a flesh-colored leotard and a man's bowler hat. Balancing a green umbrella that read, "I want Podkolzin," she tiptoed along the wire, her dirty heels visible to all. She jumped off the wire straight onto a chair. At the same time, all the men in top hats, Podkolzin, Kochkriov in tutus, and the matchmaker in a conductor's uniform did backflips. Then everyone rested for 5 minutes, the lights going out again to cover the break. The suitors were hilarious, especially Yechnitsa, egg. Instead of an actor, they brought out a giant fried egg on a skillet. The sailor had a mast and sail on his back. Merchant Starikov's complaints about patents and taxes didn't impress Agafia. She married Stepan. The two of them dug into the giant egg, served by Podkolzin, now a footman. Kochkriov and Fekla sang couplets about Chamberlain and the alimony the British minister collects from Germany. The S-mark mugs played a funeral march. The curtain fell, bringing a cool breeze. "I'm satisfied," Ostap said. "The chairs are safe, but we can't waste time. If Agafia keeps sitting on that chair every night, it won't last long." Young men in stylish jackets, laughing and jostling, discussed the finer points of the set and sound design. On the stairs, Kuntov's condescending voice could be heard. "Yes, I'm writing an opera. At the Moscow branch of the Leningrad Society of Dramatic Writers and Opera Composers, they told me. And for a long time, as the crowd dispersed, you could hear the drumbeat of a man in tune with his era. Just admit it, the Moscow branch of the Leningrad Society of Dramatic Writers and Opera Composers. Well, Ostap said, time for bed, Kisa. Tomorrow morning, get in line for tickets. The theater leaves for Nizhny at 7 p.m., so get 2 hard seats on the Kursk line. No big deal, we'll manage, just one night. Next day, the entire Columbus theater troupe was in the Kursk station buffet. Simbivich, making sure the set would go on the same train, was having a snack. Dipping his mustache in beer, he anxiously asked the stagehand, "Will the hydraulic press survive the trip?" "That press is a pain," Mechnikov replied. "It works 5 minutes, but we have to haul it all summer." Was it easier with the time projector from The Powder of Ideology? Of course, the projector was bigger, but not so fragile. At the next table sat Agafia Tikhonovna, a young woman with legs as firm and shiny as bowling pins. Around her, the sound crew Galkin, Palkin, Malkin, Chalkin, and Zalkind buzzed. "You were offbeat yesterday," Agafia complained. "I could have fallen." The sound crew protested. "What can we do? 2 mugs broke." "Where can you get a foreign S-mark mug these days?" Galkin shouted. "Try the state medical store," Palkin chimed in. "You can't even buy a thermometer there." "You play thermometers too," the girl gasped. "We don't play thermometers," Zalkin said, "but thanks to those cursed mugs, we're always getting sick, have to check our temperature." Director and main producer Nick Sestrin strolled the platform with his wife. Podkolsin and Kochkriov, after 3 shots each, competed for Georgette Turaspolskik's attention. The treasure hunters, who'd arrived 2 hours before the train, were already on their 5th lap around the station square. Ippolit Matveyevich's head was spinning. The chase for the chairs was entering its final stage. Long shadows stretched across the hot pavement. Dust settled on sweaty faces. Cabs rolled up, the air smelled of gasoline, and hired cars dropped off passengers. Porters ran to meet them, grabbing suitcases, their oval badges gleaming in the sun. The muse of travel was calling. "Well, let's go," Ostap said. Ippolit Matveyevich obediently turned. Suddenly, he came face to face with Bezenchuk, the undertaker. "Bezenchuk," he exclaimed in surprise, "what are you doing here?" Bezenchuk took off his cap, stunned with joy. "Mr. Vorobyaninov," he shouted, "an honor to see you." "How's business?" "Bad," the undertaker replied. "How come?" "Looking for clients, no one's dying." "Is Nymph stealing your business?" "Her, no way, she can't compete. There just aren't any cases. Since your mother-in-law, only Pierre and Konstantin have gone." "You don't say, they died." "They did, Ippolit Matveyevich, on the job. Pierre was shaving our pharmacist Leopold and just died. People say it was a rupture, but I think he just breathed in too much of the pharmacist's medicine and couldn't take it." Oh dear, Ippolit Matveyevich muttered. "So you buried him." "I did. Who else? Nymph, she wouldn't lift a finger, but they beat me up after, nearly broke my heart. The police took over. I was laid up for 2 days, treated myself with alcohol." "Rubbing it in." "No need for that." "So what brings you here?" "Brought my goods." "What goods?" "My own. A conductor friend helped me bring them for free in the mail car, as a favor." Only now did Ippolit Matveyevich notice a stack of coffins on the ground behind Bezenchuk. He quickly recognized one, a big, dusty oak coffin from Bezenchuk's shop window. 8 of them, Bezenchuk said proudly, all perfect, like cucumbers. "Who needs your goods here? They've got plenty of their own craftsmen." "But what about the epidemics?" "What epidemics?" "Flu. Prussy's told me Moscow's got a raging flu, and there's nothing to bury people in. All the materials are gone, so I thought I'd help out." Ostap, who'd been listening with interest, chimed in. "Listen, old man, the flu's raging in Paris." "Paris?" "Yeah, go to Paris, you'll make a killing. Sure, there'll be some trouble with the visa, but don't worry. If Brian likes you, you'll do fine. Become the chief undertaker for the Paris City Council. Here, we've got enough undertakers." Bezenchuk looked around wildly. Sure enough, despite Prussy's warnings, there were no bodies in the square. People were standing tall, some even laughing. The train had long since carried off the treasure hunters, the Columbus Theater, and the rest of the crowd, but Bezenchuk still stood there, dazed over his coffins. In the gathering darkness, his eyes glowed with an unquenchable yellow fire.